Hi guys, I'm the certified gaming accountant and this is my attempt at a Pokémon Black 2 Hardcore Nuzlocke only using Pokémon with the ability Weak Armor. For those of you who don't know what a Hardcore Nuzlocke is, allow me to explain. And for those of you who do know, you can skip to the following timestamp to avoid the explanation. Pokémon games are a lot of fun, but let's face it, they're pretty easy. A Nuzlocke introduces a self-imposed set of rules in order to make these games harder. The three main Nuzlocking rules are: you can only catch the first Pokemon you encounter per route. If a Pokemon faints during battle, they are considered dead and must be released or permaboxed. And you must nickname every Pokemon you catch in order to form a more personal relationship with them. Additionally, I will be using a variant of two other widely adopted rules known as the species and duplicate clauses. Under this variant, I will not be allowed to catch more than one Pokemon of the same evolutionary line. Just think of this as me not being able to have two Pikachus or a Pikachu and a Raichu on my team. Many players welcome the challenge of a Nuzlocke since it makes for interesting team compositions and requires a higher degree of strategy in order to be successful. So what makes a Nuzlocke hardcore? The following additional rules constitute the basis for a hardcore Nuzlocke. The first is implementing a level cap equal to the next gym leader's highest leveled Pokemon. If any of your Pokemon go over that level cap, they must be boxed until the gym leader is beaten. Second, the player cannot use any items in battle. This means healing and X items are off the table. Held items, however, are permitted. And third, the battle style must be on set mode. This means that after defeating a trainer's Pokemon, there will not be an option for a free switch. If you want to bring a different Pokemon in, they will likely have to take an attack. So now let's get to this specific challenge. Weak Armor is considered to be an absolutely F-tier ability when it comes to Nuzlockes. This ability lowers a Pokemon's defense by 1 stage and raises their speed by 1 every time they're hit with a physical attack. Losing defense in a Nuzlocke is absolutely awful, especially considering that Pokemon who faint are dead. But I'm an insane person and decided to devote myself to beating a Nuzlocke with this terrible ability. Here are all the Pokemon to date that can have the Weak Armor ability. In Black 2, Kabutops and Omastar aren't available until after the Elite Four. Magcargo can't be encountered in the game. Poltegeist and Cursula weren't introduced until Generation 8, and, unbeknownst to me, Boldore wasn't given this ability until Pokemon Sun and Moon. So that leaves us with 6 possible encounters: Onyx, Skarmory, Crustle, Garbodor, Vanillux, and Mandibuzz. With that settled, let's jump on in. After picking up the limited edition Pokémon Black 2 Weak Armor version from GameStop, I get my starter Onyx and name her Roxy. In a regular playthrough, Onyx would be the first of the available encounters that you could catch, so that's why she's the starter. Then it's time to smack my rival around, who I name Weak Armor. Onyx is actually a solid Pokemon to have in the early game. It has a really high defense stat, and most Pokemon have physical moves, so I don't need to worry too much about taking damage. Of course, the threat of defense debuffs from Weak Armor is always looming, especially since I don't have a second Pokemon yet, so I can't switch out to reset my stats. After making easy work of my rival's Oshawott, I realize my mom is going blind, and start my journey. I beat Weak Armor again in Flockacy Ranch and go take on the first gym leader, Sharon. The Aspergia City gym only has normal types, so I'm not really concerned. Sharon's whole gimmick is that he uses Workup, a move that raises a Pokemon's attack and special attack stats by 1 stage. This could have posed a problem if my Onyx didn't have Curse. By lowering my speed stat by 1 stage, I can raise both my attack and defense by 1, thus counteracting Workup from Sharon's end and making Onyx stronger. I'll be using this move a lot throughout the run to compensate for the defense drops that come with Weak Armor. I curse a few times, Rock Throw Patrat, and despite getting flinched twice by Lilipup's bites, a Rock Throw and a Tackle take it out no problem. Badge 1 secured. I make my way to Verbank City, and while fighting workers in the complex, Roxy comes close to dying to a coughing that lands Poison Gas and gets a critical hit assurance. Then when I enter the gym, I take on the drummer first, and sadly Poison Gas strikes again. I curse, and after 1 Rock Throw, Grimer disables me. Double sad. With only half her HP left by the time coughing comes out, I know Roxy's in trouble. Then, in a roller coaster of emotions, Rock Throw is back online, but Roxy misses, resulting in her untimely death. Enter Attempt 2 and our boy's solid. We handle Sharon again with no issues, and we're back to fighting Little Drummer Boy. Again, I start the battle with Curse as Grimer connects on Poison Gas. But instead of Disable this time, he uses Pound, which helps me out a lot. A Tackle takes Grimer out, and then we're back to coughing. 2 Rock Throws later, and we're able to move on. Roxy's other gym trainer is easy, so it's time to take on the rock star herself. She leads with a coughing, so I curse and eat up an assurance. Then, I set up a second curse as coughing hits another assurance. Then I rock throw and coughing uses assurance again. Another rock throw takes coughing out, leaving Roxy with just her Whirlipede, which is part bug and weak to rock. It protects stalls to give itself just enough time to write a will, and then Solid chucks a rock at her face, leaving the bug with about a quarter of its HP. All it manages to do is use Pursuit before being killed by a second rock throw. With that win, we grab our second badge, and what the hell is this bullshit? I'm held hostage until I make a movie for this creepy guy, and then I run into Team Plasma, who got new outfits from 2 years ago. We chase them to Castelia City, where I tell my rival I found them in the sewers, to which he accuses me of lying, but immediately regains his trust in me and asks for my help. I love it when my decisions affect a story. I pick up leftovers, weak armor gives me strength, and I grab the Hardstone and Relic Passage before heading into the third gym. Usually Berg is no problem for people, but most of the Pokemon in this gym are in the Leavanny evolutionary line, which isn't just bug type but also grass. On top of that, they all know Razor Leaf, which my Onyx is 4 times weak to. Just to make matters worse, even if Onyx lives through a Razor Leaf, it's a physical attack which causes weak armor to proc and it has a high chance of critting. Even with these disadvantages, I'm able to take care of the gym trainers since bug types are still weak to rock type attacks and Solid has Smackdown. Now at the level cap of 24, all I can do is take Berg on and see how it goes. My plan was to get a few curses up and hope Onyx could outspeed Berg's team and Oko, Swadloon, and Leavanny, who were the real threats, with Smackdown. Unfortunately, this was an awful plan and Leavanny kills Solid. It was here that I decided that if I wanted to beat this run, I'd have to get serious. I've beaten a lot of Nuzlocks before I started this channel, and some of them even had hardcore rule sets. But this challenge puts my years of casual Nuzlockery to shame. It was time to pull out the old damage calculator and strategize, no, optimize every battle in order to taste the sweet victory of becoming the Unova region's champion. With a new outlook on this challenge, I began planning for my next bout with the bug gym leader. Before even starting a new run, I needed to see if it was possible to make it past Berg. Allow me to take a second to talk about Evs and Ivs. EVs, or effort values, are earned whenever a Pokemon is defeated and affect your Pokemon stats. The total EVs a Pokemon can have is 510, and a single stat cannot have more than 252. The more EVs you get for a specific stat, the higher it will be. IVs, on the other hand, cannot be manipulated by the trainer. These individual values are different for every single Pokemon, even those of the same species. Pokemon randomly generate IVs for every stat, and the highest they can be for a single stat is 31. Similar to EVs, the more IVs a Pokemon has in a stat, the higher it will be. Finally, different natures can boost or lower specific stats. I determined that in order to beat Berg, I would need an Adamant Onyx with perfect IVs in attack and speed. Not only that, but I would pretty much need to max out its EVs for these two stats. I continuously reset my game until I finally got a viable Onyx, and I named her Hope. She now carries the weight of my sanity and willpower on her shoulders, well, lumps. We handle Sharon and Roxy with ease, then decimate the Route 19 population of Patrat for attack EVs and Purloin for speed EVs. There's one other part to my strategy for Berg that I haven't mentioned yet. In Castelia City, there's a professor's aide who, if the player has seen at least 40 different kinds of Pokemon, will give them the Eviolite. This item increases a Pokemon's defense and special defense by 150% as long as the Pokemon is not at its final evolution. Since Hope won't be evolving into Steelix in this run, the Eviolite will come in clutch on multiple occasions. With the stage set for redemption, let's dive in. The plan is to set up 3 curses against Swadloon because even Adamant Onyx with max attack EVs and IVs needs to be at +3 to Oko Leavanny. Goes to show how terrible Onyx's attack stat is. With the Eviolite, Hope would be able to live through 3 Razor Leafs as long as none of them crit. The speed boosts from weak armor would cancel out the drops from Curse, and Onyx would always outspeed Leavanny. I know this strategy isn't optimal, but it was the best I could do with just Onyx. In order to avoid redundancy, I'll tell you now, most of the strategies I used throughout this run required some degree of luck. I managed to get my 3 curses up, but since Swadloon missed its first Razor Leaf, I'm actually at -1 speed. This means Leavanny now outspeeds me. Smackdown drops Swadloon and Hope levels up to 25. When Leavanny comes in, I avoid yet another critical hit and am able to kill Berg's ace with a Smackdown. Last is Dwebble, and this specific one has Sturdy, which is one of the hardest abilities to plan for in Hardcore Nuzlocks. Luckily for me, Dwebble is pretty trash before evolving into Crustle, so I was able to win with a combo of Smackdowns and Tackle. However, Berg was just the tip of the iceberg. The upcoming battle with Colress will theoretically be harder than the fight we just had. Colress leads with a Magnemite that has Sonic Boom, which does 20 damage no matter what. In order to avoid losing to him, I get Onyx up to level 28 before the fight. When we open, I set up a curse, and Colress uses Magnet Bomb, which even with a critical hit isn't as good of a move as Sonic Boom would have been due to my Eviolite. Since Onyx doesn't have a ground type move yet, which would be super effective, I teach her Return. At maximum friendship, this does about 80% to Magnemite, making Colress burn his super potion. A few more returns and Clink comes out. The scary thing about Clink is its attack Gear Grind, which always hits twice. Since this is a physical attack, each hit activates weak armor, and therefore Clink does more damage with the second hit and lowers my defense by 2 stages each turn. I set up another curse as Clink misses Gear Grind. This gives me the opportunity to buff my defenses even more with another curse. At +3 attack, it still takes 2 returns to knock Clink out, but all it did was go for charge, so that fight was a lot easier than it could have been. I should mention that while Trubbish can be found on this route, they don't get the ability Weak Armor until they evolve into Garbodor, which is available as an encounter much later in the game. Since I don't need to catch Trubbish to get its evolved form, I decided to ban it as an encounter. This allows me to get the static Mandibuzz that is only on Route 4 on Thursdays. After 3 gyms, we're finally able to add another member to the team. Mandibuzz is a very bulky mon with solid attack and special attack stats. I name her Velma and notice she has a neutral nature, which is alright. From here we continue on to Desert Resort to add yet another member to the team, Dwebble. Like I mentioned before, pretty garbage, but Crustle will be needed later on in the run. I name her Keisha, and notice she also has a neutral nature. In Nimbasa City, Velma gets a new pair of glasses, and we jump straight to our fight with Elisa. This is going to be the last easy battle in this run. As long as you have a ground type, you can beat her with your eyes closed. It also helps that Onyx is rock type since her Emolga is part flying. I set up a few curses and Smackdown takes out Emolga, then Return finishes Flaffy and Zebstrika. Some Team Plasma stuff happens, and on Route 5, Bianca gives me Fly, and I fight this guy who's always at full throttle. Ew. Anyway, we get to Driftville City, some more Team Plasma stuff happens, and I EV train Mandibuzz in attack and defense to prepare for Clay. Dwebble still can't evolve at the current level cap, so she's unfortunately sitting this one out. Clay opens with Krokorok, and I lead Wide Lens Mandibuzz, so Fly will be 100% accurate. I completely forgot to factor in Krokorok's Intimidate, which made it so that Fly wasn't a guaranteed 2-hit kill. I happened to get a high roll on the first, so my slip-up wasn't punished. A second Fly takes the Croc out, and then Excadrill comes in. It should always go for Rock Slide with Mandibuzz out, which gave me a perfect opportunity to switch Onyx in. After getting to +1 speed from eating those rocks, Hope is now faster than Clay's Ace. I picked up the TM for Dig back on Route 4, which I taught to her. Interestingly enough, if not for weak armor, I would have lost this battle. Excadrill's Bulldoze drops speed by 1 stage. At neutral, it's faster than Onyx, even with the EV investment I gave her. However, since Bulldoze is physical, my speed goes up, cancelling out the drop and keeping me at +1 so I can finish the mole with a second Dig. Clay's last Pokemon is Sandslash, which will always use Bulldoze against Onyx, so I switch to Mandibuzz. My second misplay of this battle comes after landing Fly number 2. I forgot that Clay uses a Hyper Potion if one of his Pokemon is at low health. Due to defense drops, Velma is now in danger of dying to Crush Claw, so I have to switch Hope in to tank one. Now I'm able to go back to Velma on a Bulldoze with her stats reset. She hits a Fly, lives a Crush Claw, and one last Fly gets us our 5th gym badge. I was definitely sweating at the end of that one. Next, Clay makes us battle for entertainment in the Pokemon World Tournament, which means another matchup with my worst nightmare, Colress. There were 2 battles prior to this with my rival and Sharon, but neither were that interesting, so we'll skip over them. The reason why Mandibuzz is out front is because my rival led with his Dewott, so I couldn't lead Onyx or Dwebble, and my lead Pokemon is set for the whole tournament. I'm still able to get a clean switch to Onyx since Velma baits Thunder Wave, and now with Dig in her arsenal, this shouldn't be too bad. I set up a really dumb curse allowing Hope to get confused by Supersonic. Magneton is 4 times weak to Dig, so there was absolutely no need for this. I guess I didn't learn from that mistake since I end up hitting myself in confusion going for curse again. Then Magneton hits a mirror shot, almost killing Hope. Now in panic mode, I switch to Velma because Dwebble would die to a mirror shot. I decide to see how much damage Feint Attack does as Magneton paralyzes me with T-Wave. I switch to Keisha just to confirm that Magneton will use Thunder Shock with Mandibuzz in and paralyzed. I pivot through Velma to Onyx so I can get a free Swit, and I'm confused again. I go back to Velma, eat a mirror shot, and it's back to Hope once again. This time Magneton complies and uses Thunder Shock so I can finally use Dig and knock it out. I also outspeed an Oko Clink with Dig. Colress picked up an L-Gym since the last time we battled, but it's not a problem for my team. I switch to Velma and eventually get a Feint Attack off, narrowly getting out of the battle unscathed. Next, Weak Armor, Sharon and I board a pirate ship, but since we don't have our peg legs and eye patches, they give us the boot. While making my way through Chargestone Cave, I ran into an Ace Trainer with a Tortuga and quickly realized how terrifying a water rock type is to my team. I use Feint Attacks to lower its health and then switch to Onyx to get the KO. Then she brings out a Magmar, which should be an easy win. Hope misses a Rock Slide and gets confused, so now I'm in trouble. I hit myself in confusion and Flame Burst does more damage than you'd think due to Onyx's abysmal special defense stat. When I finally land a Rock Slide, it doesn't even end up killing, so I need to take a second Flame Burst. I realize I have no option other than to try to break through confusion, which I thankfully do, and kill with a return. Moments later, I accidentally run into a rotation battle against an Iron Defensing Iron Barb's Ferroseed. Since my whole team only has physical attacking moves, this won't be fun. An Iron Barb's Mirror Shot combo almost kills Hope, so I need to use Velma to sweep the remaining 3 Mons. I'm never coming back to this cave again. I arrive at Mistralton City where I grab the Sharp Beak, grind my team up to level 39, and take on Skyla. Her Skarmory is a huge threat since Steel is super effective against Onyx and my newly evolved Crustle, and it resists all of Mandibuzz's moves. I lead Keisha holding an Expert Belt against her Swoobat. I go for Smackdown instead of Rock Slide because it will never kill and I need Skyla to use her Hyper Potion now instead of on Skarmory later. I switch Onyx in on the heel who's holding the Hard Stone, which increases the damage of Rock-type moves by 20% and set up a curse as I take a Hard Stamp. Then after another Hard Stamp, I'm at +1 speed and take Swoobat out with Rock Slide. Swano will always switch in against Onyx since it has Bubble Beam, which is 4 times effective. However, at +1 speed, I'm faster than the dumb bird, so as long as I don't miss a Rock Slide, it'll go down. And I don't. Now the plan for Skarmory is to use 1 Rock Slide since Onyx can eat a Steel Wing. Then I'll switch to Dark Gem Mandibuzz and oh, she goes for Agility. Well, I guess I'll never get back the 45 minutes I spent running into dust clouds in Chargestone Cave to get a single Dark Gem. A second Rock Slide crits, giving us the Jet Badge. Skyla then gives us a ride to Lentamos Town, where Juniper doesn't deal with rejection too well. Outside Reversal Mountain, we catch the very thing I feared the most, Skarmory. I name her R-Wing, and you guessed it, she also has a neutral nature. Next, I EV train Skarmory in attack and HP, and Crustle in attack. Then I do something that's arguably a worse part of this game than Pokestar Studios. I grind in the Battle Subway and Pokemon World Tournament until I have enough BP to buy Swords Dance, Protect, and Hidden Power. Before passing through Undella Town, Weak Armor challenges us to another fight. This battle is basically a clean sweep for Skarmory, so we'll move right past it. In Lacunosa Town, I tell Bianca I know all about Zekrom since I'm a Pokemon master, and then she lectures me anyway. Seriously, Game Freak, why even give me the option? We take down some Team Plasma members, and then I make a mad dash to Opelucid City, but not before getting interrupted by Kikwa, who I sidestep in the middle of the road. Before the gym, I can actually advance to Route 9 and catch my most beautiful team member. Ew, gross. There she is. Isn't she just perfect? Wait, you thought I was talking about Gotharita? What am I, a simp? I'm talking about the noxious blob of bulk that is Garbodor. After Hope almost dies, I switch her out while R-Wing handles the repulsive psychic type. I also noticed that Garbodor is holding Black Sludge, which is fantastic. It's the same thing as Leftovers, but for poison types, so each turn it will recover 1/16 of its max HP. After some trouble, I finally catch our lovely lady and name her Duchess. And yes, she too has a neutral nature. I grind the team up, teach R-Wing Swords Dance, and head into my battle with Drayden. I lead Skarmory and set up 2 Swords Dances against Druddigon. This is a little dangerous because all of Drayden's Pokemon have Dragon Tail. When this move connects, it forces the Pokemon it hits to switch out. Had he used it on the first or second turn of this battle, I'm not sure I would have been able to win. But luck was on my side and I'm able to set up and kill with Fly. Flygon meets the same fate, and Haxorus, who's usually extremely tough to deal with because of Dragon Dance, also gets outsped and O-Code. 7 gyms down, 1 to go. But before that, Team Plasma combats global warming, so I deal with them quick. We'll be skipping all the battles against Zinzolin because he has ice types, which my team deals with very easily. Before heading to Humalao City, I EV trained Duchess in HP and special attack. Then it was time to take on the ultimate Chad, Marlin. You guys remember that Tirtuga that almost killed me earlier? Well, Marlin has its evolved form, which just might be the toughest Pokemon in the entire game for my team. I swear it took me a few hours of planning for this battle before I finally came up with a strategy I was comfortable with. Not only does Caracosta have a super high defense stat, but it also has Sturdy, which means it can't be killed from full health. On top of this, it has the move Shell Smash, which increases its attack, special attack, and speed by 2 stages at the cost of 1 defense and special defense stage. If I'm not careful, this thing will completely wreck shop on my team. I lead Duchess to poison the Turtle of Terror with Toxic as he Shell Smashes. Then I use Clear Smog, which resets all stat changes, bringing Caracosta back to neutral. Garbodor has no issue eating a Scald and avoids getting burnt. Next I use Venoshock, which is the TM I got from Roxy. If Venoshock hits a poison Pokemon, its base power goes from 65 to 130, making it the strongest poison type move available to Duchess. Unfortunately, Marlin's second Scald burns her, which is less than ideal. I was hoping poison damage would be enough to kill here, but Caracosta hangs on with just a shred of HP. Knowing Marlin is going to use a Hyper Potion here, I go for another Venoshock. One more manages to kill the Proto-Turtle Pokemon, and Marlin sends out his Wailord. I switch Skarmory in as Wailord uses Amnesia. Marlin's Wailord also has Scald, and I'm really happy he didn't go for it because a burnt Skarmory means I'd probably lose the run. I set up a Swords Dance as Marlin uselessly buffs his special defense again. I Fly as the terrible AI uses one last Amnesia, allowing me to kill the whale. Marlin's final Pokemon is Jellicent, but at +2 attack, Skarmory outspeeds and O-Codes. Before taking on the Elite Four, we need to deal with Team Plasma. In the Giant Chasm, we run into a Vanillish, who will be the final member of our team. I name him Frozone, and what's the nature? Neutral. After beating a Plasma Grunt, Frozone evolves into Vanillux, so I EV train him in special attack and speed, grind the team to level 57, and it was time to take on the hardest fight of the entire game, Colress 3. You heard me right, Colress is the toughest trainer in the game. He is mostly electric and steel types now, which means he's super effective against 5 of my 6 Pokemon. On top of this, his Magneton and Magnezone both have Sturdy, and his Klinkling holds an air balloon, meaning it can't be hit by ground type moves until it's hit with any other attacking move first. I theory crafted to the point of insanity and finally decided to take him on. I lead Mandibuzz to break Sturdy with a Dark Pulse, knowing from prior experience that Magneton will always start the battle using Thunder Wave. Velma's Cherry Berry then cures her paralysis, which means Magneton is guaranteed to use another. This allows me to get Onyx in without taking damage. Then one dig takes the cluster of magnets down. Behem will always come in next since it has Energy Ball, which is 4 times effective on Onyx. Knowing this, I can switch into Keisha, who eats one and outspeeds for an X-Scissor kill. Keisha baits Matang, who hits a nasty Meteor Mash after using Agility, but goes down to 2 X-Scissors. Now Magnezone comes in and will always use Flash Cannon, so I switch to Duchess to tank it. I taught her Protect and Hidden Power for this very instance. Hidden Power has a different typing depending on your Pokemon's IVs. Unfortunately, Garbodor ended up with Hidden Power Rock, so it's not very effective on Magnezone. Regardless, I need to use it to break Sturdy, and then a Cherry Berry cures paralysis from Thunder Wave. Knowing a second Thunder Wave will come out, I can safely go back to Hope. Then it just takes one dig to knock out Magnezone. Finally, Kling Klang comes in with its air balloon, so I switch to Velma. Gear Grind does a little more damage than I'd like it to, but I need to get a Dark Pulse off to pop the balloon. Kling Klang uses Shift Gear, which raises its speed by 2 stages and attack by 1, so I stay in and use Punishment. This move gains 20 base power for every stat increase the opponent has. After a second Shift Gear, this means my Punishment hits with a base power of 180 plus stab, putting it at 270. Unfortunately, Kling Klang resists and I don't do that much damage. I switch to Hope now, thinking Kling Klang will go for Thunderbolt and I'll be safe. It actually uses Giga Impact but misses, and then next turn it goes for Shift Gear, even though it could have OHKO'd me with Gear Grind. I hit a dig, killing Kling Klang for the win. I totally forgot during this fight that Shift Gear raises speed, so I didn't think Onyx would be at risk. I got extremely lucky not getting punished for this oversight. But my luck has to run out sometime, right? From here we need to take on Kyurem Black and Ghetsis back to back. The only semi-winnable plan I have for Kyurem is to use Hardstone Onyx and land back-to-back Stone Edges, which has 80% accuracy. My first Stone Edge connects. Oh, and it crits. Guess my luck hasn't run out. In a fit of rage, Ghetsis attacks me, but I'm ready for him. I switch to Velma with Leftovers, who gets poisoned by Cough Egregious' Toxic. Annoyingly, Ghetsis goes for a Toxic Stall strat using Protect and having Leftovers on his lead Pokemon. I land a Dark Pulse, which does a little less than half as Cough Egregious hits a not very effective Shadow Ball. Ghetsis gets a double Protect next as Velma's HP is withering away. I'm forced to switch out or die, so I go to Keisha but stupidly use a not very effective X-Scissor. At least Cough Egregious' ability, Mummy, activates, which neutralizes weak armor. Unfortunately, another Shadow Ball would take me out, so I switched to Duchess. I get a Toxic of my own off and prepare to stall. A super effective Psychic hits hard, but after Black Sludge recovery, I'll be able to live a second one. I switch to Mandibuzz on the Psychic since I won't take damage and can continue my Toxic stall. Now I go back to Duchess, who can live a Shadow Ball, but my luck has finally run out. Cough Egregious crits and we lose the first member of our squad. Why do the pretty people always suffer the most? I bring Keisha back in to avenge her fallen friend with a Rock Slide, but it doesn't kill. Am I seriously about to lose another? A flinch! I manage to get a flinch and the sarcophagus dies to poison damage. Ghetsis brings out Seismitoad next, who I know is going for Muddy Water, so I switch to Frozone. Luckily he has Hidden Power Grass, so it's an easy one-shot. Ghetsis' Electros has Flamethrower, so I switch to Hope to take the hit. This thing also has Levitate, so I can't use Dig to knock it out. I miss a Stone Edge and get hit by another Flamethrower. I nervously click Stone Edge again as Electros continues to spit fire at me. Without hesitation, I go for one more Stone Edge, knowing it's do or die. I land the hit and the eel goes down. With Drapion next, I can bring in Arwing and set up a Swords Dance since she resists Night Slash. This allows me to take Drapion out with a Fly, as well as Toxicroak, and Ghetsis' Ace Hydreigon. With a heavy heart, we mourn the loss of Duchess, but know she'd want us to continue on. I make sure to only battle the trainers who are necessary in Victory Road, since most of them are actually really strong and super dangerous to my team. Take this woman for example, who has a Starmie and a Sawk, which end up almost killing Skarmory and Mandibuzz. The last battle before the Elite Four is with my rival at the end of Victory Road. He leads Unpheasant as I Ice Beam it with Frozone for the kill. Then Simisage comes in, so I switch to R-Wing and set up. After 2 Swords Dances, I'm able to one-shot the rest of his team, and we finally arrive. I used some rare candies I had to get everyone to the level cap of 59, and it's finally time to face our last few obstacles. I decide to start with Chantal since I think she'll be the toughest member for my team to beat. She leads Cough Egregious, and my PTSD sets in from Getsus. I nasty plot as it uses a Shadow Ball. This allows me to get Cough Egregious to low HP with a Dark Pulse, so Chantal has to use her full restore. 2 more Dark Pulses get the kill, and then Drifblim comes out. Knowing this thing will go for Thunderbolt against Mandibuzz, I can bring in Onyx. Drifblim oddly goes for Acrobatics, so Hope takes some damage, but that shouldn't matter as long as we land Stone Edge, which we do. Onyx always baits Chantal's Ace, Chandelure, because it has Energy Ball. Another Stone Edge here gets the Ghost-type user to her last Pokemon, Golurk. I switch Skarmory in to avoid the Earthquake, set up a Swords Dance at the cost of some HP from Brick Break, and manage to get the win with a Fly. Next is Grimsley, the Dark-type user. He leads Liepard, who uses Fake Out on Keisha to get a little damage off with a defense drop from Weak Armor. On the next turn, I take a Night Slash and drop the Leopard with an X-Scissor. Then Scrafty comes out, who I know will be using a super effective Rock Tomb. I switch to R-Wing to eat the attack and then start playing with my swords. After that, one Fly takes down Scrafty. Crocodile's next, and her Intimidate brings R-Wing to +1 attack. I set up another Swords Dance while tanking a Crunch. Next I use Fly for the kill, bringing Grimsley down to his Bisharp. Even though it's not very effective, at +3, 2 Flies will be able to finish the job despite Bisharp regaining health with a Citrus Berry. 2 down, 2 to go. I decide to battle the Fighting type user Marshall next. I lead with R-Wing and immediately knock out his throw with a Fly. Then Mienshao comes in and goes for Bounce, allowing me to get a Swords Dance up without taking damage. Bounce misses on the second turn, and Skarmory takes to the sky for a Fly. Mienshao bounces again, so now we're playing a game of missed attacks. This bounce connects, giving R-Wing the speed boost she needs to move first next turn and kill. Next is Marshall's Ace, Kinkeldor, but not even a bulk up can keep it alive in the face of R-Wing. Finally, Salk comes out, who has Sturdy, so I use a Night Slash to break it. Then a Brick Break crits me, but I manage to live in the red. From here it's just one more Fly until we can move on. The last member of the Elite Four is Caitlyn, who uses Psychic types. Skarmory leads off with a Swords Dance and gets yawned by Masharna. Before falling asleep, a Dark Gem boosted Night Slash takes out the weird Psychic Elephant thing. When Gothitelle comes in, I switch to Crustle expecting a Thunderbolt, but it uses Calm Mind instead. After that, Psychic does big damage, but a Bug Gem boosted X-Scissor takes Gothitelle out in one hit. Reuniclus is next, so I switch in Mandibuzz and take no damage from Psychic. Then I Nasty Plot, and she unsurprisingly misses a Focus Blast. Remember that Dark Gem from Chargestone Cave? A boosted Dark Pulse gives Velma the kill, leaving Caitlyn with only a Sigalith left. An Ice Beam does decent damage as I leave the Abomination left with a bit of HP. Caitlyn heals her last Pokemon as I test how much damage Punishment will do. Then I tank one more Ice Beam and Dark Pulse for the win. The only thing standing between me and never having to use Weak Armor again is Iris and her dragons. She leads with Hydreigon as I send Keisha out. Surf does huge damage, but a Bug Gem boosted X-Scissor takes out the handless dragon. Lapras comes out next, which sadly means this is the end for Keisha. I need to be able to get a clean switch against this thing, so I look away as she goes down to a Surf. Your sacrifice will not be in vain. Now I can bring Frozone in for free, who's holding a Miracle Seed which will make Hidden Power Grass stronger. After seeing it'll be a 3-shot, I luckily dodge Sing. I hit a second Hidden Power as Lapras' Surf hits harder than expected. After a full restore, I take Lapras down with the help of a critical hit Hidden Power. I was confident the AI would go to Aggron next, but Druddigon came in, which threw my strategy off. I use Ice Beam, but Druddigon manages to live on 1 health and kill Vanillux with Rock Slide. Knowing Hope will outspeed the dragon, I bring her in and hit a return in retaliation. Now Aggron finally comes in and I realize I made a fatal mistake while planning. I completely forgot that Earthquake hits Pokemon that are underground between dig turns. Mortified at this realization, Hope dies and with her a piece of my soul. Refusing to give up until the very end, I bring in Arwing. I take 2 Rock Slides while setting up Swords Dances and hope a Steel Wing will kill Aggron, but it doesn't even get her into the red. After a second Autotomize, the Rock Monster outspeeds Skarmory, but I hang on through 1 more Rock Slide and connect a Steel Wing to take it out. Archeops is next, and Arwing hits her 3rd 90% accurate Steel Wing of the battle to take it out. Iris's last Pokemon is Haxorus, who's holding a Focus Sash. This is essentially the same thing as Sturdy, allowing it to not be killed from full health. Without a better move, I use a Flying Gem boosted Fly to bring it down to 1 HP, and then Arwing dies to an X-Scissor. Now it all comes down to Velma. Haxorus outspeeds and uses X-Scissor instead of the stronger Dual Chop as we pick up the win with Punishment. And there you have it. With 1 Pokemon left, I was able to beat the nearly impossible challenge I gave myself. This run was incredibly fun, forcing me to use a whole team of Pokemon I've never used before. On top of that, Weak Armor really made me think about my every move in order to optimize my gameplay. It was so satisfying watching that Haxorus drop at the very end and getting this team immortalized in the Unova Hall of Fame. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, commenting, leaving a like, all that YouTube algorithm stuff. I'd really appreciate it. Also, let me know if you have any crazy challenges you'd like me to try in the future. I won't give too much away, but I have one in the works that may be even tougher than this. Thanks again for watching, and remember, any challenge can be beaten if you just use your head.